Welcome to The Explainer. You know, when we talk about the AI race, it's usually all about one thing. Who's got the most power? But what if? What if the most important feature isn't just raw horsepower, but principles? Today we're breaking down Anthropic's Claude, an AI built on a totally different, safety-first philosophy.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at what makes Claude so different from the get-go. Then, we'll get into its secret sauce, this thing called the Constitution. We'll meet the whole Claude family, see how it stacks up against the competition, and wrap up with how you can actually put it to work. Let's do it. Okay, so first up, what's the big idea with Claude? I mean, it wasn't just about building another big language model. It was all about tackling one huge and, honestly, a pretty critical question.
And that question is pretty simple. Can an AI be super powerful, super helpful, and actually safe? This wasn't just some academic thought experiment, you know? The people who started Anthropic, a lot of them came from OpenAI, and they left specifically to crack this nut. They were convinced you could have an AI that's brilliant and reliably harmless.
And their answer? It's Claude. It's even named after Claude Shannon, the pioneer of information theory, which is pretty cool. The whole point here is that Claude is built from the ground up to be helpful, honest, and, most importantly, safe. For them, safety isn't an add-on, it's everything.
So how in the world do you build safety right into an AI's code? Well, that brings us to Claude's secret ingredient, a really unique training method that makes it totally different from pretty much every other model out there.
They call it constitutional AI. And here's the best way to think about it. Instead of having tons of people constantly flagging bad answers, you actually teach the AI a set of rules, its constitution, and you train it to grade itself based on those rules.
The fancy term for this is reinforcement learning from AI feedback, or rlaif. It's a three-step dance. First, the AI gives an answer. Then, it checks that answer against its own constitution, which is based on things like the UN Declaration of Human Rights, by the way. And finally, it polishes the response to make it better. It's a really smart, scalable way to build ethics right into the system. And look, this whole constitutional thing has been their MO from day one. They were founded back in 2021 and have moved incredibly fast, right? From their early models to the super powerful Claude 3 family we have today. But through all of that, this safety framework has always been the one thing they won't compromise on.
Okay, so what does this actually look like for you and me? Let's meet the current lineup of Claude models that are out there right now.
Right, so the Claude family isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. You've got Haiku, which is the speed demon, fastest and cheapest, great for quick chatbot stuff. Then there's Sonnet, the solid all-arounder for most of your day-to-day tasks. And then you have Opus. That's the big one, the premium model, built for really heavy-duty, complex thinking and research.
Now check out this number, because this is what really makes Claude stand out. 200,000. That's its token context window. Okay, what does that actually mean? It means you could literally drop an entire book, like The Great Gatsby or a massive financial report, into the chat and just start asking questions about it all in one go. For deep research, that is an absolute game changer.
And getting your hands on these tools is super easy. You can just use the web app at claude.ai. They've got mobile apps, or if you're a developer or a business, you can plug right in through their API or on big cloud platforms like Amazon Bedrock and Google Cloud.
All right, so the obvious question is, how does all this compare to the big players we all know and use, like ChatGPT and Gemini?
When you put them side by side, the key differences really boil down to their core philosophy. With Claude, you get that massive context window and the whole safety-first training. That means its answers tend to be a bit more cautious, a little more nuanced. On the flip side, models trained with a ton of human feedback can sometimes feel more, confident or creative, but they might also be more likely to just make stuff up or say something they shouldn't.
But don't mistake caution for weakness. When you look at the standardized tests, the benchmarks that measure everything from high-level reasoning to coding skills, the Claude models are right there at the top of the leaderboard. They're often neck and neck or even beating the best stuff from Google and OpenAI. Okay, enough theory. Let's talk about the practical side. How can you actually start using Claude?
Well, thanks to that huge context window and its powerful reasoning, Claude is just a beast for knowledge work. I'm talking about summarizing super dense research papers, finding that one critical clause in a 100-page legal contract, helping you debug your code, or even acting like a personal tutor that can read a whole textbook with you.
And getting started is a piece of cake. There's a free tier that lets you kick the tires and see what it can do. If you need more power, the Pro plan is about $20 a month for way higher limits.
And then, of course, there are max tiers for businesses that need all the bells and whistles. Now, a quick pro tip: to really get the best out of Claude, you've got to play to its strengths. Be super specific about what you want. Use that giant context window, upload your documents, break down big, complex tasks into smaller steps, and just iterate. Talk to it, refine your prompts, and you'll get exactly what you're looking for.
So what's the big takeaway here? Claude isn't just another horse in the AI race. It's really a whole different way of thinking about AI. One that says, yeah, power is great, but it has to go hand in hand with a real commitment to being safe and helpful.
And that leaves us with one last pretty big question to chew on. As these AI systems get more and more powerful and woven into our daily lives, is this kind of safety-first, constitutional approach just a nice-to-have feature, or is it something that's absolutely essential for our future?